so much for tuning in to this week's installment of The Light. I hope that you've been enjoying the channel thus far, and I hope that this information has been valuable to you. Also, special thanks to the artists who have been helping me and allowing me to use their music. Shout out to Green Matter for letting me use this track, Digital Daisies. Please go follow her on Facebook, Instagram, and SoundCloud, and check out this amazing up-and-coming DJ based out of Denver, Colorado. If you're in the area, definitely check out her shows as well. She's got some coming up this summer. But, folks, without further ado, let's get into the news. I had to call out some red flags last week because I'm a realist. I call out red flags where I see them, and there was a lot going on as far as regulatory changes and geopolitical advancements in the cannabis marketplace. Now, I want to talk about more of the positives and more of the bullish flags that I'm seeing. And I also want to talk about my analysis for the legal cannabis industry here, really using Colorado as a case study. Because here in Colorado, we've had legal cannabis since January of 2014, and this has led to a reduction in opioid deaths by overdose. This has allowed farmers to really take advantage of industrial hemp as a crop and to reap the economic benefits. And this has also allowed us to really eliminate a lot of the war on drugs here in the state of Colorado. The state of Colorado has now surpassed $1 billion in taxed revenue on the legal cannabis industry, on $6.7 billion of sales since January of 2014. This is massive, and we've amassed quite the government surplus in the state of Colorado now, as far as the budget goes, due to these taxes. I think that the state really does set a model for industry compliance and regulation as well, and we're seeing this really pay off. The state of Colorado has its own division for policing, tracking, and regulation of the marijuana industry. In fact, it's called the Marijuana Enforcement Division, and this is a very important organization that is somewhat unique here in the state of Colorado, but one that keeps the industry on track, and which allows us to continually target the revenues of black market cannabis sales effectively, which is really what we're going for in the cannabis industry. Now, we're seeing many more states adopting similar regulations and regulatory instruments. We're seeing this framework being used as a model with RFID tracking, inventory tracking, and enforcement. Now, this is big. Like I said, $1 billion in taxed revenue, and that's on $6.7 billion of sales from January 2014 to May 2019. Now, states across the nation are opening up markets and trying to capture some of this revenue. U.S. cannabis market estimates are anywhere from $22 billion to $30 billion, but I think this is quite conservative. I do see the weed map signs up around Denver stating that statistic of 22 to 24 billion by 2024, but I do think it's conservative. And I want to go over some of the numbers and why I think this is conservative. Now, Colorado, $6.7 billion in sales from January 2014 to May 2019. Now, that's a population as well of 5.9 million in the state of Colorado. This comes out to $1.34 billion in sales per year. Not a shabby number, but in the United States, with a population of 327 million people, my estimate for U.S. cannabis sales is actually close to $73.7 billion per year. And I don't think that this is a stretch, especially considering that in 2019, cannabis consumers have already matched their Taco Bell purchases in their cannabis purchases. So we see as much a revenue in Taco Bell as we do in the cannabis industry now. That's just incredible. And the population of the U.S. is about 55 times that of Colorado. So truly, I'm just doing the numbers based on that population and sales per year averaging 1.34 billion in the state of Colorado. This is in the current iteration of markets, though, and I do think there's actually more hidden and untapped potential. There's a lot happening, but we see this pivot toward medical treatments and widely available products with CBD and more of a health-oriented cannabis industry. And we're seeing farmers, especially in Colorado for the last 5 years, switching to hemp or cannabis if possible, trying to capture this revenue. And this helps the legitimization of cannabis cultivation. But despite my estimate being high, we also see Marijuana Biz Daily with some numbers. Now they're calling the U.S. cannabis industry at an estimate of 50 to 55 billion by 2024, stating statistics of the cigarettes industry at 80 billion and beer at over $100 billion per year. So my question is, how much of this will the cannabis industry take? How much of the revenue of other industries will the cannabis markets capture? As Americans are quite keen on taking advantage of the legalization. And again, Americans matched sales of Taco Bell with sales of cannabis in 2019. We've got many red flags in markets, but there's also a lot of bullish flags, a lot of them, especially in the cannabis industry, as I have explained. Now we're going to see a continued assault on the black market as legalization and regulation picks up. And the prices per gram are going to continue to fall, targeting the black market, as the black market will no longer be able to compete with the quality and cost per gram of the legal industry. We're seeing long-term fundamentals of the cannabis industry being quite strong. And despite the edibles delay, flower sales are increasing, the black market's continuing to dip, and revenues of producers is still going up, even if measurably. Now we're going to see edibles and the full spectrum of infused cannabis products really propelling some growth in 2020. But we've got some other big headlines as we see Aurora completely prepped for international and just expansion in Canada and the US throughout 2020. We also see Canopy making a mega deal with Acreage Holdings, a big US cannabis firm with John Boner, a prominent Republican politician at the helm. So you see how politics and the stigma of cannabis is really changing, especially with a deal like that. But a potentially even bigger deal that I see is Pax Labs now partnering with 4 of these publicly traded companies: Afria, Supreme Cannabis, Organigram Holdings, and Aurora Cannabis as production supply partners. Now Pax makes an incredible specialty vaporizer with an app, custom settings, and very good delivery. It has a specialized cartridge which contains cannabis extracted oils, and now these producers will be able to utilize their own flower in Pax products. Now, the fact that Pax has partnered with these growers to me isn't that big of a deal, even though Pax is an incredible company, because they already have a lot of production supply partners beyond these publicly traded companies that already exist. But what this means is that a company like Aurora Cannabis can now offer an even lower price point on a Pax cartridge with the oils, the extracts, and they can dictate the price on this very popular specialty product as long as they can continue to drop their cost of production per gram. Essentially, they can drop their cost on Pax products as well. Now, this can be a big deal, and it'll continue to propel their revenue and sales. And we're going to see vapes and medical treatments and cures propelling future growth in the cannabis industry, especially beyond 2020 after we see edibles and markets open up that way. But there's also this incredible untapped potential in the industrial hemp industry and marketplace here in the United States, both as far as CBD goes and the industrial uses of hemp, as well as the food market for hemp seeds. We see so much untapped potential in industrial hemp, and quite a lot of uncaptured revenue potential there. So I want to spotlight that in the next video. And I'm also going to spotlight Hemp Inc. and talk a lot more about what's going on with industrial hemp and what we can expect in the future watching a company like Hemp Inc. building out infrastructure and industrial hemp cultivation nationwide. Now we see huge things, incredible things happening, and a lot of good signs, despite the red flags that we've been seeing over the last week, folks. Now I hope you appreciated the video. I really do appreciate your support. Again, please subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a like and comment. I hope that you're enjoying the channel. I hope you're enjoying the music. This is Green Matter. Again, follow her on Facebook, SoundCloud, and Instagram. And folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Much love, and until next time, enjoy the